Hello beautiful people. So family planning is something that is so important. I know some people don't do family planning, maybe due to religion, or maybe you don't want to, or maybe it is your husband who doesn't want you to use family planning. But what we don't realize is that how important is family planning into our own lives, especially when it comes to child spacing, because that is one problem that is really affecting most women here in Kenya. Remember, when you don't space your children, let's say 3 years, 4 years, or 5 years apart, you're really affecting this child. This child doesn't have enough time to grow well and enough time to be healthy. And you yourself as the mother, you don't have enough time to heal and to have a good health, because when you give birth frequently, it is going to affect your health in some way. And that's why today I'd like to talk about some of these family planning methods. I know most people usually wonder which method is best for you, which method is the one which won't have side effects on your body, because remember, a method that was used by your mother or your friend might not work for you. So I wanted to discuss which one is best for you. And on the methods today, I'd like to discuss the natural methods like using calendars, the barriers method like condoms, surgical methods which is usually permanent, the hormonal methods like the injections and implanon, the intrauterine, the IUDs, and also the lactational amenorrhea method. I know you've heard that breastfeeding is a family planning method, so I'll be discussing that too. I'll be discussing their side effects. How do you know if it is effective for you? At what time can you use which kind of method? Like most people usually ask, after I've given birth, which method is best for me? So that is what I'll be discussing today, and just let's get into the video. I'm going to first start by the natural methods. For the natural methods, the first one is abstinence, and abstinence is the only method that will assure you 100% protection from getting pregnant, because when you're not doing it, you're not going to get pregnant. But if you have to, for your own reasons, then you have to look for another method. The next one is the calendar method, or even using the moon beads. The moon beads looks like a rosary, whereby the days you are menstruating and the days you are safe and unsafe, and you have to be moving the circle around the beads each and every day. Most people don't usually have it, and most people, like, they're not consistent with it, and they even forget to move the ring, and they don't know their days so well. You can use a similar thing, which is the calendar method, and let's say you have a regular cycle of 28 days, and the 14th day is the day you're ovulating. So almost 5 days before that and 5 days after that, you are not safe. And I'll be doing another video to explain the calendar method, because it is something that most girls like to use, but they don't know how to use it. They just don't understand their cycle, and if they want to use this method. So alternatively, if you just can't do it yourself, you can download a period calendar app. Then when you have the app on your phone, it can be notifying you whenever you're fertile. Another natural method is monitoring your temperature and monitoring your cervical mucus. And for the basal body temperature, you're supposed to monitor it every day at the same time. Then you write it down, and whenever your temperature goes up, it means you're fertile. So you have to be monitoring these, so that in the next cycle you'll be able to know which days you are safe and which days you're not safe. And also for the cervical mucus, like whenever it's dry, that means you are safe. Whenever there's wetness, that means you're not safe, and you're supposed to be monitoring this each and every day. The bad thing about monitoring of the symptoms is that people are usually not consistent, and it requires that much dedication to be able to monitor this. The last natural method I'll be talking about is the withdrawal method, and as you all know, for withdrawal is whenever the guy is ejaculating, he is supposed to withdraw the penis. And something about this is that it cannot work if this person has premature ejaculation, or he has a problem with sensation, because there's some people who have that problem. They just can't sense whenever they're ejaculating. And also, if they're just not obedient, like they know they're ejaculated but they can't withdraw, they can't use this method. it really requires too much dedication. Next, we have the barrier methods, and for the barrier methods, we have the male and female condom, we have diaphragms, we have cervical caps, and we have spermicides. But for diaphragm, the cervical caps and spermicides, they're not usually used as much nowadays, so the barrier method that is used so much is the condoms. And for the condoms, it is the best because it prevents you not only from pregnancy but from HIV/AIDS and STIs. Nowadays, I've heard that girls usually just don't want to get pregnant. Like, they are scared of pregnancy more than they even scared of HIV/AIDS and STIs. I just don't know why, but I don't know how. Oh god. But anyways, for condoms, it is the best method because it prevents you from HIV/AIDS and STIs. All you are required to do is to just follow the procedure well and to be consistent with it. Now we go to the hormonal methods, and I'll be starting with the oral contraceptives. So for the oral contraceptive, these are usually pills, and we have ones which are combined for estrogen and progesterone, and we also have ones which are progesterone only. Then we have the emergency ones. For these ones which are combined, we usually have those which are 21 tablets or those which are 28 tablets. They're just the same thing, so that these ones which are 28 tablets are usually have added 7 tablets which contain iron. And remember, iron is important for making of our red blood cells. So when you take this one with 28 tablets, it will be able to help you to be prevented from getting anemia. And for the combined oral contraceptive, it is usually helpful because in some way it also helps to heal the cramps. Like for those who usually have severe cramps, they're usually given these oral contraceptives, and it usually also so helpful. The other effect is that you'll have a shorter period, and also it has nausea and vomiting. Something else, you'll have weight gain and such kind of things. The problem is that you have to take the pills each and every day at the same time without missing. So you have to be dedicated that maybe each and every day at 10 a.m. I'll be taking my pill without failure. And if anything happens and you miss to take your pill, let's say even for 2 days or 3 days, take the pill immediately, and make sure within the next 7 days you either not engage in sex, or if you have to use another method, let's say a condom, so that you be sure that you didn't get pregnant. Then for the progestin only, the difference is that for the progestin only pill now does not have estrogen, and for estrogen, it has effect on breast milk. So progestin only is usually mainly given for the women after giving birth and we are still breastfeeding, because it does not have estrogen that prevents milk letdown. So you'll hear that the progestin only, especially when you go for your 6 weeks clinic and you ask for a method, they'll give you the progestin only pill, and it's usually in 28 pills or even 35 pills. And the other good thing is that it can also be given to those who have high blood pressure. Then the next oral contraceptive is emergency pill, and I really want to talk about emergency pill. Girls, please, emergency pills should not be used as your everyday family planning method, because the way I usually see girls out here and girls in the university, the way they usually take emergency pills like as if they're eating groundnuts, is just so sad. Emergency pill are used for emergencies, just like the word says, emergency pill. They should be used for emergency. Let me give you an example. Let's say you are using a condom and there was a break in the condom. That's when you can use the pill. Or let's say you are raped. Such kind of emergencies, it should not be used each and every day, each and every weekend. If you have to engage in sexual activity that much, make sure you get yourself a family planning method that you can use for that. Let's stop using emergency pills that way, because it really has so much effects, and I'll also be creating another video talking deeper about the emergency pills. Then the next hormonal method we have is injectables, and for injectables we usually have the ones which are combined and the ones which have progestin only. For example, we have the depo that you all know of, and depo is usually given for 3 months. So something about it also does its work by suppressing ovulation, thickening the mucus, and thinning the endometrium so that implantation does not take place. But the side effects that comes with depo is we have bleeding, we usually have abdominal pains and a little bit of nausea. And the bigger side effect that most people complain about it is usually that returning back to fertility usually takes time. So maybe after you've stopped using the method, it will take some months, a little bit of time before you get back to being fertile. Another thing, it cannot be used with women who are breastfeeding, because remember, it has estrogen that will prevent milk letdown. And then we have the patches and the rings. For the patches, these are plastics that are worn. Then they usually stay for 3 weeks, then you remove it, then you rest for the 4th week, then you have another one. Then for the rings, usually insert it on the vagina, then they release hormones and the hormones are absorbed. And usually put it for 3 weeks, then you remove it and you dispose it. But if you have to remove it anytime within those 3 weeks, maybe some people remove it during sex or due to other reasons, make sure you don't leave it for long. Let's say a maximum of 3 hours, then you return it back. The last hormonal methods are the implants, and for the implants, they're usually small rods which are inserted on your upper arm, and they are usually inserted underneath your skin, and then you have to stay with them within the amount of time you are given. Like for Jadel, it is 5 years, and for Implanon, it is 3 years. So the good thing about these methods, they are long-term methods, but they have to be inserted by someone who is trained. The good thing about this method is that when you are removed, the return to fertility is just immediately return back to being fertile. And they can also be used by breastfeeding mothers, and something good is that the side effects are also very few. Then the other method is the intrauterine device and the IUDs. This is what you hear people calling the coil, and the coil usually have the copper ones, like the copper T, which stays for 12 years. So it is a long-term method, and you can even have the hormonal ones like the Mirena. And for the coils, the complaints that you usually get, you have bleeding, and if you experience that much bleeding, please make sure you seek for help. Then you can also be having missing strings, because for copper it is usually like a T shape, then there's a string hanging. So if there's missing string, maybe it is misplaced, you should get yourself checked. Then there are also complaints of perforation of the uterus, ectopic pregnancies. Those are the ones that can go to a worse extent. The other complaint that we usually get with the IUDs is that the partner complains of feeling the string. Because I think the number of times I was in that family planning room, I met almost 4 women who used to come and say, mi mzee wangu amesema nikuje mwenye aliniwekea kitu anitolee kwa sababu inamdunga. So the problem is that some of the partners can complain because of the sensation of the string. So what you can do in this case, like the string can be cut. So you agree with the mother, the string can be cut so that it can be shortened, let's say 3 centimeters, and you make sure you indicate that it was cut so that the people will come to remove it. Next time will know that it is there. Or the method can just be removed. You can just remove the method for once and just let the mother decide another method, choose another method, because if the partner is not comfortable with that method, then they're not going to like work out. Let's say your husband says, I'm not going to engage in you because you have that coil in you, so it just have to be removed and look for another method. So what you're required with the coil is that you have to come during your menses. Like when you go to the clinic, the nurse will tell you, and urudi na periods, because it has to be, the reason as to why they tell you that is that we have to be sure before you have that method on you, we have to be sure that you are not pregnant. So with the coil, it is usually inserted up onto the uterine cavity, then a string is usually left hanging. So that is the coil. Next, we have the surgical methods, and here you usually have tubal ligation for females, whereby the fallopian tube is either tied or cut, and we have vasectomy for males, whereby the tubes are also tied or cut. And remember, for the surgical methods, they're usually permanent. And lastly, we have the lactational amenorrhea method. This is the one I told you. You usually hear women saying that breastfeeding is a method of family planning. So this is the lactational amenorrhea method. So for the lactational amenorrhea method, you have to follow 3 criteria for it to work. So it is usually used after you've given birth. So the first thing you have to make sure is that it is within 6 months. The baby should be 6 months old. That means within 6 months after you've given birth. The other thing, your menses should not have resumed. Like you should not have resumed periods for this method to work. The other thing is that you have to be exclusively breastfeeding. I know like most women nowadays are usually busy and with work and such kind of things, and you cannot breastfeed your baby. Your baby is depending on other kind of milk, then you cannot use this method. It requires you to follow those 3 criteria for you to be able to use this method and for it to be able to work for you. So guys, those are some of the methods I'll be discussing today. I know I haven't discussed them into that much depth, but I'll try and do each and every method separately on different videos. Like I'll take the natural, the hormonal, and discuss them separately so that you can understand it in depth, so that you know which one is best for you. But I hope this video was of help to you, and if you have any question, you can leave that down in the comment section. And if you have any other comment on any other method that I've discussed today, you can always leave that on the comment section. You just don't know whom you might be helping. So thank you so much for watching this video, and see you on my next video. Bye bye.